Zalax, are you working closely with Aaron on No Fear? And may we see here from some of the characters from the first Heretic. Let me explain that. No Fear is my latest book. It's a Horus Heresy book. I'm working on it now. It's the story of the Battle of Calth, which is the Ultramarines versus the World Bearers. Now Aaron is known as the author who particularly handles World Bearers, and Graham McNeill, of course, is the author who particularly handles Ultramarines. So one might have expected one or other of them to write the Battle of Calth. Turned out that it was me doing it instead. There's all sorts of reasons for that, all of them good actually. It was something I wasn't necessarily expecting to do, but jumped at the chance. It means that we get to mix and match the legions we associate with, which I think is always nice to have a fresh eye come into something. It allows Graham, for instance, to write his next two books, which are Outcast Dead and the book after that, which at the moment is called Bastards of Evil, but I know it won't be called that really. But they're going to be terrific. And also Aaron will essentially be slotted in to write a book that follows No Fear in structural terms, in terms of the range. So am I working closely with them? I'm working closely with both of them actually, because I want to take my lead from the stuff they've previously established, particularly I suppose with Aaron, because yes, First Heretic characters do crop up in this, inevitably. What will happen after this, weirdly, is that his next book is a sequel of sorts to No Fear, a direct sequel, and so is my next book. So we will branch out from the events that take place in this. Obviously, I get Aaron on the phone or Skype usually, and we chat away for hours, and then I completely ignore everything he says. But yeah, that's just the way it works. Greg Smith, hello Greg. Has the finale of the Horus series been discussed yet? No, we go into a room and we go, is this going to end? Is there, they hide this stuff from us. Yes, of course, we have discussed it many, many times. We discussed it, one of the first things we discussed before we even started work on the series. We inevitably, like the story of Titanic, we know what happens at the end. It's how we get there and then how we orchestrate that. Greg goes on to say, I understand from Black Library Live that there is now a conscious movement forward with the series, which is evident from the Age of Darkness collection. So is there now a definitive idea of the scale of the series, or is it still pretty much carrying on until you feel all the stories have been told? Well, yes to both actually. There is a definitive idea of the scale of the series, which I'm not at liberty to discuss, but we are also making sure that we tell all the good stories that need to be told. The last thing we want to do is write something that people go, oh, they're just padding it out. It's just another Horus Heresy story for the sake of a Horus Heresy story. So they're crucial stories. The important thing is that conscious movement forward of the series you mentioned, Greg, is really because we started out, when we sat down and first planned the Horus Heresy series, we had very definite ideas about what we could do with it and how we would do it. And treating it like a big historical event like, say, the Second World War, that we'd started at the beginning and we'd worked through writing stories about it until we'd eventually told the whole story in however many books that took. The one thing we didn't really, I think, appreciate was how urgent readers would feel about getting to the next bit. So we would do a story thinking, this is a really interesting story. And they'd be going, yeah, but we want to read the next bit, we want to read the next bit. So it's a matter of trying to do a balance between telling those interesting side stories without letting the readers feel that they have somehow had their time wasted or had the momentum robbed from the series. And also we don't want to rush through it willy-nilly without doing it properly. So one thing we've done really in the last year is properly decide to do the milestone events cleanly and clearly and telegraph them in a way that you understand. And also to make sure we do them in chronological order, in terms of publication order, so that you're not, I mean, it's not something we've veered wildly from so far, but we don't want to keep nipping back and forward and doing books and people going, well, how does this relate to the series as a whole? That's one of the reasons actually that I'm writing the Battle of Calth now, is because we had all these things planned out of what we wanted to do next, and Graham knew what he was doing, and Jim knew what he was doing, and I knew what I was doing, and Aaron knew what I was doing, etc. Gabs, you know, everybody knows what they're doing, and we suddenly realised that if you mapped those novels onto a timeline of where things were, they all happened, or they happened either completely or generally after the Battle of Calth, and the Battle of Calth wasn't slotted in, which is because we were all getting so excited, and so we went, well, we've got to have the Battle of Calth, otherwise these novels don't make sense. And I was in the best position to simply bump the book I was going to write back one slot and write the Battle of Calth, enabling everybody else to carry on doing what they were doing, which is why I did it, and I'm enjoying it enormously. So that is the forward momentum that Greg is talking about. We would, I think, hesitate from doing a novel that was out of sequence at this point. We just wouldn't do it. There'd have to be a really good reason for it, like, for instance, it's a story that started, like The First Heretic, long before the beginning, or whatever. But we're still trying to do cover as much ground as possible. And there are so many legions we haven't even really talked about yet to find out what they're doing. Well, that's one of the fun things about No Fear, is that we haven't really talked about the Ultramarines yet. The Ultramarines being such a fundamental part of Space Marines. I mean, you know, love them or loathe them, they are very, very important, biggest unit completely. Yet we're into the late teens, if not 20s, of the books before the Ultramarines take any kind of centre stage, so it was long overdue. Stuart West, what's the greatest challenge about writing a heresy novel that you've come up against? The sheer weight of... it's partly the sheer weight of continuity, detail and fluff material you've got to assemble. It's not because there's more than 40k, because in strict terms there's far more 40k stuff that you've got to bear in mind when you're writing a 40k novel. It's the fact that 30k stuff has not been, or had not been until we really started working on it, and still before Alan did his Visions book, had not been planned with any great oversight. It was the product of disparate articles that have been written as background material over 15-20 years of background stuff talking about a heresy. When we finally came to sort of quantify that and codify it into a series of novels that had one continuous history, we found there were lots of contradictions and lots of things that didn't work out. It hadn't been systematically planned in the way that 40k had done. And that's probably it is. It's making sure that we don't make a mistake, or if we do, as it were, change a detail, or have to decide between which one of three different versions of a detail is the correct one. If we have to do that, we pick the right one and we do it for the right reasons. There is stuff actually in No Fear where we have, I think, responsibly and carefully chosen the version of events and details that we are going to be sticking to, and that's kind of going to now become the canonical version of Calth and the battle. Things like whether it was Veridan, the Veridan system or the Viridian system, and whether Calth is in that system or not in that system, and that kind of stuff. We have carefully assembled all the different versions of the possibilities and decided this is the one we're going to follow. So it's really making sure that we do that responsibly, and then making sure that we all do the same thing responsibly, and we don't discover, I don't discover that Aaron's called it the Veridan system and Calth isn't in it, and I've called it the Viridian system and Calth is in it, and everything like that. Niall Norton asks, how are you getting on with No Fear? Very well, thank you. How long do you think it will be? The trite answer to that is 40k and 30k novels alike tend to be about 100,000 words. Horus novels do run on a little longer than that sometimes. There is a greater latitude, but that's essentially, it's going to be novel length. They're all novel length. It will be the length it has to be. In terms of its duration, the Battle of Calth, there's many arguments about how long the Battle of Calth lasted for, and it will cover the whole thing. You mean, how long will it be before you get to see it? It's next spring's publication. It's next spring's release. So that. Liam Michael Loftus. Hello, Liam. Who won the monkey knife fight? Only the end of the Horus Heresy series will tell, I think. And in fact, it wasn't just one monkey knife fight in the car park deciding who'd get to write. It will be a series of them, I think, as we get through to the big events now. Almost every meeting, and there's another one this week, there's going to be monkey knife fights in the car park every single time. I want to write the White Scars novel. No, you don't. Snicked. And so on. So it's going to go on for ages. It's probably worth pointing out that you can friend me on Facebook if you wanted to at Dan Abnett Primary Clone. That is actually my second page, because you will easily find a page called Dan Abnett. In fact, you'll find lots of pages on there, but there is clearly one that's Dan Abnett, that's me, and it's full. It's absolutely full. You can try friending me there, but you're probably not going to get, because every now and then a space does open up, and it tends to get filled sort of automatically because there are people who ask to friend me who I can't message to tell me to go somewhere else. But anyway, the point is, if you want to friend me on Facebook, go to Dan Abnett Primary Clone, which is a duplicate. I didn't want to open a fan page because I think that's a very strange thing to do, and I like the fact that there is a direct point of contact. So opening a second page is nice. Everything I post on one page I post on the other. Come along, talk, join the fun. It'd be great fun. You can follow me on Twitter at Dan Abnett Club. That's all one word, Dan Abnett Club. Or for a more casual approach, you can follow me and Nick on Twitter at Vincent Abnett, all one word. And my blog is at danabnett.com, which I'm sure many of you who've asked me questions already know. And in fact, if you're looking at this on my blog, you already knew it before anyway. Thank you for all the questions. I look forward to talking to you again.